This is Citizen Live at 1. Good afternoon and thank you for joining us. I'm Hussein Mohammed. Leaders have continued to differ over whether President Uhuru Kenyatta should travel to The Hague for the Status Conference. Willis Raburu has more.
A day after it emerged that President Kenyatta could travel to the ICC to honor his summons to appear personally, leaders from his Kiambu backyard are urging him not to skip the sessions in a bid to avert any warrants of arrest.
Ilienda, wote wamepotea, walikuwa wamekochiwa, walikuwa wamepatiwa pesa, na ikiwa hakuna witness, kwani kuna kesi? Sio kesi imesarabatika. Is there a need frogging a dead horse? Lakini, kwa sababu sisi ni watu werefu, we ask the president not to reason to what court was advising him the other day, that he fails to go to Hague.
Meanwhile, a section of members of parliament led by Samburu West MP Lati Lelitit and Sabatia MP Alfred Agoi have termed the ICC as too small a court and one that is meddling with the sovereignty of Kenya.
The head of state, as a sovereign, as a leader of a sovereign country, shouldn't be paraded in a foreign court to undergo charges that are trumped up.
Agoi maintained that Kenya is facing many challenges, citing that the country at the moment requires its head of state.
At this point, the president as the symbol of unity is required more than any other time. So we will not want to allow the president to go out because people may take that opportunity to disrupt the peace or increase the insecurity that we are having.
It has emerged that the president may be considering the option of honoring this summons, while the judges maintain the critical stage the proceedings in his case are at now necessitate his physical presence at the court next week, Wednesday. Sources say the judges may require him to give insight on claims of obstruction to provision of relevant material for the prosecution's evidence. Should he go, talk is rife that heads of state might be implored upon to accompany him, with two presidents from the African Union already said to be ready to accompany him in a clear show of solidarity with President Kenyatta. The president's new Hague date might also affect the Northern Corridor Infrastructure Summit in Kampala, Uganda, set for next week. But there is also the option of appealing the decision by the judges within the one-week window before the status conference. If Kenyatta attends the status conference, he will go down in history as the first sitting head of state to attend proceedings at the Hague-based court. Willis Raburu, Citizen at 1.
10 members of the Nile Basin Development Forum, including Kenya, will benefit from $1 billion US from partner states. Speaking during a press briefing, the executive director of the Nile Basin Initiative, John Rao Nyaoro, said by the end of November, partner states will withdraw from funding the project, hence leaving members of the forum to fund the project. Nyaoro added that Kenya stands to gain as part of the money will be used to conserve Mau Forest. This year's event, which will kick off on the 6th of this month in Nairobi, has been themed Building Sustainable Transboundary Cooperation in a Complex River Basin, and will attract water and natural resource ministers from Burundi, Tanzania, Ethiopia, Sudan, South Sudan, Egypt, Rwanda, Congo, and Uganda, who will come up with ways of using Nile water without conflict.
Tukubaliana tutafanya kivipi, kiwango kiasi gani inatakana kila inchi atoe tuhifadhi hizo chemichemu ya maji. Tuna support Kenya kujenga power pool bila wanaweza kutoa umeme kutoka Uganda, kutoka Tanzania na kutoka Ethiopia. Hizi yote inakuwa generated kwa nguvu ya mto Nile.
The government has announced that it has identified a strategic partner in the manufacturing of fertilizer to ease the burden on the high cost of fertilizers to farmers. This is according to President Uhuru Kenyatta, who officially launched the New Look Nairobi International Trade Fair, where he also warned civil servants against corrupt practices in the light of an expanded agriculture budget.
As most farmers would attest, the one aspect that breaks the camel's back is fertilizer. And Wednesday, after visiting the various exhibitions at the Nairobi International Trade Fair, the president gave Kenyan farmers the much-needed assurance.
We also have an answer to the old problem of high fertilizer prices. The long-term solution is simply to build our own fertilizer plant And for this, my government has identified a strategic partner, Toyota Tusho Corporation, and we now expect its first products by June of 2016.
This year's International Trade Fair attracted more than 400 exhibitors, 100 more than last year, including 43 international exhibitors.
Your Excellency, the agriculture sector's vision is to achieve a food secure and prosperous nation through an innovative, commercially oriented and modern agriculture. This is in tandem with this year's theme of enhancing technology and industry for food security and national growth.
We need to promote trade to flourish in our country by reducing restrictions, red tapes, giving incentives to investors, encouraging partnerships with private sector, and having systems that work for our people.
But with the government's injection of 37 billion shillings into food production this financial year, it comes with a responsibility, according to the President.
So together with the new funding, there will also be strict new standards of accountability. Those, especially public servants, who fail to observe these new criteria will find that my government has equally a stern side.
Uhuru, who also officiated prize-giving ceremony to the various outstanding leaders of industry, announced that within the next decade, his government hopes to achieve the goal of allocating 10% of the national budget to agriculture, as stipulated in the Maputo Declaration. Alex Kubasu, Citizen Live at 1.
Now, a middle-aged man has died while another one is fighting for his life at the Nyeri Referral Hospital. That is after consuming illicit brew at Majengo slums in Nyeri town.
The excitement of month-end turned tragic for a middle-aged man in Nyeri County, with another man left fighting for his life at the Nyeri Referral Hospital following the consumption of illicit liquor.
Kuna kijana yetu jana alikuwa amepewa pay jana. Leo asubuhi kuamka hakuwa uhai.
Residents of Majengo slums have told Citizen TV that bars in the area open up as early as 6 a.m. despite there being a law stipulating opening hours to be at 5 p.m. during the weekdays and from 2 p.m. on weekends and public holidays. The residents have further accused the police of soliciting bribes from the owners to keep the liquor dens open.
Na kusema ukweli, tumepoteza vijana wengi hapa Majengo. Hiyo kijana nasikia ni watatu amekufa na nasikia kuna mwingine kwa hospitali.
It is also alleged that the deadly brew is made in the neighboring Brew Valley estate. The residents further claim that young men in the area have been collecting used alcohol bottles and selling them to a brewing plant where they suspect the killer brew is packaged in the branded bottles. Led by the area MC Mbogo Kirago, the Majengo residents are calling for action to stop the liquor problem in the area, as young men spend most of their time in the liquor dens.
Sana waulizaje kanga anakufa leo ni hiyo pombe. Kesho ni nani mwingine atabaki wa vijana wetu? Tutamalizika wote Majengo mzima. Kama sasa mkaenda huko kuna jaa watoto wa watu. Kwani si atukuzaa na wakimbilia Chang'aa askari. Na kwa nini wasikimbilie hizo pombe za uzago kwenye ba? Chang'aa enzi na enzi ziko kwa zikiuzwa huku ndani. Na mimi nakuwa na kutaikiuso. Haijawahi kuua.
Martin Munene, Citizen Live at 1.
Property owners in Wajir town have started demolishing their structures to pave way for the 1.2 billion shilling tarmac project expected to transform the economic fortunes of the residents. Some of the residents interviewed by Citizen TV say they have opted to bring down their structures so as to help the fast completion of the tarmac project, which is the first one of its kind in the area.
It was kick-started amidst pomp and color. The official launch of the construction of Wajir's first ever tarmac road since independence by Wajir Governor Ahmed Abdullahi mid last month stirred excitement in the northeastern Kenyan town and was attended by many members of parliament from Kenya's third largest county. Many residents halted their activities to witness the grand launch of the 1.2 billion shillings project that will see a 25 kilometers network of tarmac roads link the different parts of the growing town. The excitement has since died down and the hard work has only begun. Now the project enters a crucial phase and inevitably structures will have to give way to the project expected to ease movement of goods and people in the county. There were fears that the planned demolition of structures would run into fierce resistance. How the whole exercise will eventually pan out remains to be seen. However, some residents have voluntarily started paving way for the project. One by one, the structures have come tumbling down. This commercial building once housed a busy spare parts shop. Now it is providing the extra space needed for a project area leaders have called life-changing for Wajir town's population. Workers are bringing it down one stone, one block at a time.
Nyumba tumefunja kwa front ilisahau tulimwambia tuvunje. Sisi wenyewe ndio tunafunja, tunalipa pesa wale wafunjaji, kila kitu. Kwa hivyo na tunataka serikali iangalie heshima ile tumefanya na uzalendo.
Wale watu ambao wametii amri wasaidiwe katika kujenga manyumba zao ambayo walibomoa kulingana na matakwa ya serikali ya kaunti.
Even market stalls are being brought down peacefully. There are no riots here by former stall owners, only cooperation. The county executive in charge of roads in Wajir County had warm words of praise for the residents voluntarily demolishing their structures.
The individuals who have shown good gesture by moving away from the road reserve and at some point demolishing their houses or shops at their own cost, and that shows patriotism people of Wajir County have.
This is just the beginning of the demolitions, and there are issues such as compensation that have to be factored in as the exercise gets underway. But many Wajir residents are looking forward to seeing the first inch, first mile of tarmac completed in their hometown, marking a milestone in the town's history. Abdi Osman, Citizen Live at 1.
Now, a year ago, the Nairobi County government launched a sophisticated traffic management system designed to eliminate notorious traffic jams and instill order on city roads. But the 400 million shilling project that introduced computerized traffic control and surveillance cameras is yet to help identify or prosecute a single culprit, and the traffic police admit the system is largely useless. Willis Abur reports why it will take longer before motorists can see value for the money.
They were grand plans indeed. CCTV cameras capturing road motorists, traffic lights with countdown timers that would be monitored from a single control center. Nairobi would have adopted a traffic management system worth of a modern metropolis, and with it gone the traffic officers and the frustrating traffic congestion.
What that will mean is that we will have a controlled and systematic way of vehicles coming to town, unlike at the moment when all vehicles come to town at 8. And then we will have a quick exit out of town.
So in August last year, all lights were pulled down and replaced with digital ones that would have seen traffic cops move from the roundabouts. Later, CCTV cameras were installed in some areas with a promise to cover 51 hotspots. The lights were installed in several areas along Uhuru Highway and Westlands Roundabout and within the Central Business District. Yet, the traffic police officers still man these areas, and motorists are not so comfortable with them. CCTV cameras are yet to be installed in all the promised areas, and a system linking them to a control room does not exist. Nairobi County government could not show Citizen Television the location of the much-touted control center. Nairobi Traffic Commandant Charlton Morioki confirms the surveillance system is yet to help in arresting or convicting a single motorist. The project, he said, is yet to be handed over to the police, and officers are still manning busy intersections. And vandals are cannibalizing the system even before motorists see its benefits.
So when people take the law into their hands and vandalize the infrastructure like the traffic lights, the manhole covers, and several, and when you look at the costing is hundreds of millions.
Motorists seem oblivious of the lights. Few obey them. And pedestrians do not seem to care either. It's survival for the fittest in the concrete jungle that is the Central Business District. Under the cover of darkness, it's a potent mix of sticklers to the rule who, no matter what, will stop. But for others, they simply think it's a waste of time.
It will take the individual driver to make this a success. Because if you look at our driving habits and mentality, is that people are very impatient on the road.
Yet the onus still falls on the county government, since the CCTV cameras were meant to nab those motorists like these who flout traffic rules and run red lights.
No more challenges in any new system. They are teething problems, but ultimately the system will work, and it is worked largely.
For now, what was an ambitious project is clearly going to waste, and the onus is on the county government to put things right.
A 12-day-old baby girl was found wrapped in a polythene bag and left in a bush near Moi Hospital in Taita Taveta County. The baby was handed over to the hospital by well-wishers after they reported the incident to the area police station.
A 12-day-old baby girl was discovered after a passersby heard her cry in a bush on his way to work. The man later handed over the baby to two women who reported the incident to the police before they later handed the baby over to health workers at Taita Taveta's Moi Hospital. A medical checkup performed on the baby indicated that the baby was in a good condition. The infant has now been named Blessing and is being cared for by the staff at the hospital before they hand her over to child protection officers after they monitor her health at least for a week.
Kuna wengine wamejitokeza wanataka kumadopti mtoto, lakini tumewashauri wafuate mikakati inayofaa, waende kwa Children Department officer waongee na yeye, ndio sasa wafuate sheria yenye inatakikana mpaka wachukue mtoto huyu. Kazi ngumu tuko nayo kwa sababu tuna kazi mingi na inatubidi tuje tumwangalie, tumpatie chakula, tumpatie maziwa akunywe, tuhakikishe ameshiba vizuri, alale, ndio sisi tuendelee na kazi zingine.
However, police declined to comment on the incident. Safi Godana, Citizen Live at 1.
University students across the country have been forced to live in deplorable and dangerous private hostels as institutions admit more learners than they can accommodate. Some students live in condemned buildings that lack basic amenities like water, a situation that puts the wisdom of admitting overwhelming number of learners into question.
It may seem that this third-year student in Kenyatta University is having it worse, but truth is he is having it better now. For now, his only concern is that he has no electricity at night due to power rationing in his off-campus hostel near the university.
It's also a challenge to get even accommodation outside the school. It's not only a challenge to get inside. For instance, for my experience this semester, I spent nearly 2 weeks searching for accommodation outside the school.
The allure of higher education, it appears, is being dimmed for some university students by the reality of limited accommodation in various universities across the country. In one recent case, a student at Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology plunged to her death from a building that had been declared unsafe.
For instance, our case here, we have probably up to 500 students. Our hostel can take just 300. So the rest 200 have to source for accommodation from elsewhere.
Nikitembea past 8, obviously watakuja wachukue simu and everything, alafu ubaki hapo kama ni dem. There is a rape case, kuna beshangu aliwahi repiwa.
Majamaa nilishuka tu nimezingirwa na majamaa watatu. They attacked me and they tried to strangle me.
Still believe that there's a problem of the government together with the administration to just decide to delink accommodation from admission. Actually, before admitting comrades, you should know where these comrades are going to spend, because that is the first and the foremost important thing.
According to the University of Nairobi Vice Chancellor, Professor George Magoha,
this university is blessed with about 12 or 13,000, say about 13,000 beds or so. And so there's a deficit of about 7,000.
Priority is given to the students from disadvantaged backgrounds.
We are planning to accommodate perhaps 3,000 or 4,000 more students. And we are hoping that when this hostel is done through a PPP, which is now with the government, the students, our students, even those from the middle class, will pay something more reasonable.
As a university, we made a deliberate move and worked out a policy to shield these young students coming from home, the first-year students, because in the past we saw they would come and they don't have accommodation, and they suffered a lot. So what we decided was that we give priority of accommodation in the university to the first-year students.
And so if the scenario at the country's two largest universities is anything to go by, then the problem of accommodation may not go away anytime soon.
Well, we're taking a short break now on Live at 1. Business and sports news still ahead. Stay tuned.